Hi, I'd like to talk about the issue that's going on right now in Eastern Europe between Russia and the Ukraine. There's tensions that are flaring up right now. There's definitely concerns across the board. All this is just an attempt to try to connect the dots from some of the information from my online research. Okay, here's my attempt to try to understand or try to provide you insight on what I believe could be going. Will Putin invade Ukraine? Okay, so let's back up. I'll get to that in a minute. Let's back up and talk about what's going on. You have a situation where Russia has amassed 100,000 of its troops at the border of Ukraine, and he's got Ukraine surrounded on three sides, right? And it has the West, the EU, the NATO, pretty concerned right now. Now, even though the Ukraine is not a member of NATO, they are a partner of NATO. It has NATO's interests, and in fact, they're interested in joining NATO. What was it? There was a NATO summit back in April of 2008, where NATO welcomed the aspirations of both Georgia and the Ukraine to join NATO. We recognize that we could allow them to be a member in the future. Both Georgia and the Ukraine like this, and in fact, the Georgians started becoming more belligerent to Russia, and that's how they ended up getting to a war, right? Which wasn't good. But let's fast forward to 2014. There was a fact that that Russia annexed Crimea. Why? Because they wanted to. Putin's reasons were, they're Russian people anyway, and we ended up taking the Ukraine back, which resulted in sanctions by the U.S. and UN. And it was something that was kind of crippling to Russia, but their relationship with China, and were starting to get better at that point. Xi Jinping came in and economically softened the blow for Russia and their predicament with the UN sanctions. The relationship between China and Russia are the best they've been in a long, long time. So. Fast forward to 2019. Now they're having defense training together in several areas, to include the East China Sea, around the Sakhalin Islands or whatever it was. But they're fast forward to 2021, where Xi Jinping pledged his support. Where pretty much China pledged his support to Russia against NATO and the U.S. All right, so that's kind of what we have here. Putin now feels he has the wind at his back right now, right? So even though Russia's been a kind of a declining nation, Russia's been a declining superpower, they feel that they have the winds at their back right now. So this is why this is going on now. That's the biggest reason why it's going on. Some other reasons could be because of maybe he doesn't see our current president as the strongest leader. It could also have to do with the the number of technological advances that they've had on the military side, with hypersonic missiles and things of that nature. That's something that the U.S. is struggling to get off the ground, right? That program. So now is pretty much a good time, and this is why this is happening now. So getting back to the big question, will Putin invade the Ukraine? It looks like, why else would he be amassing military, his military might on the, on three sides of the border? One, it lets people know that he means business, right? Two, allows him to do what he wants to do, which is to replace the current Western leading leaning Ukrainian administration with a administration that is more in line with Putin's own Russian politics, right? So that's pretty much what he wants to do. He does want to replace the Ukrainian leadership with something that is more in line with his own politics, right? With Russian politics. Because the bottom line, what this has to do with, this has to do with, history. Both, Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus have a long history together. They come from the same ilk, and Putin knows this. He actually wrote about this in his essay. Ukraine to be more in line with Russian politics and not Western politics. That's what it comes down to. It burns him up that NATO #1 is still in existence, right? After the Soviet Union broke up and became independent countries, why is NATO? What is the need for NATO at this point? You won, you got it. Why are you still in existence? And then you're going to expand, and include Latvia and Lithuania and Estonia into the fold of becoming NATO members. That's something that doesn't sit right with him, doesn't sit well with him. And because Ukraine, as I mentioned before, they are such a vital strategic interest for Russia that he cannot let that go. That is not something he can let go. They cannot be a member of the NATO. Which is the reason why he's making these demands, right? That the Ukraine will never be a member of NATO. That in fact NATO will stop expanding, right? And these are things that he now has the backing of. Now, do I think these demands are a smart thing to do at this point? No. Whenever you start trying to make demands of any American, right, that's not something that's going to blow over go over very well. So it's not. This is why we're in the situation where we are. So what's going to happen? I tell you, Putin is in a position to bring down the current President Zelensky, who is the president of Ukraine right now, and bring him down and have him replaced with somebody who is more thinks more in a line of how the Russian political mindset. That's what he also wants for the Ukraine. So until that happens, he's not going to stop. So will he invade? No, he's not going to invade right now. But could that be something that happens in the future? If plan A, B, C, D, and E don't work out, then maybe F will be an invasion. But right now, I don't see that happening. It's not something that's going to happen within the next, couple of years. I would say easily next couple of years. But he will continue to antagonize. He will continue to try to bring down and replace the current administration by hook or by crook. That is what he will do. And he'll do that however way he can, short of invading in the Ukraine. But on the longer term, let me tell you, this has a potential for something much, much bigger and much, much more dangerous. In the longer term, if Russia doesn't get their way, if Putin doesn't get his way, he could resort to something a little bit more kinetic. Okay, is that going to be? It could involve invading the Ukraine or something else, right? Like I said before, by hook or by crook, Putin will continue. He's not going to stop until Russia gets its way. But again, he's only going to do this if China has its back, and China is going to want something in return. This is going to be the relationship between Russia and China is a quid pro quo, and China's going to want something in return. And what is that? China's going to want their Russia's support in obtaining their vital interests. One is going to have to do with Taiwan, and the other strategic interest of China is going to be the South China Sea, because there's lots of resources there that China needs. China needs resources. China is growing hungrier and hungrier for natural resources. Be worked out diplomatically. If demands are made by Russia and or China, that this could lead us into our next very large war, world war. Not something that I want to see, not something that I don't think anybody wants to see. With demands being made, with ultimatums, I would say, ultimatums being made. And these are some pretty hefty ultimatums that Putin is making. And if Xi Jinping were to make some similar ultimatums or demands on the U.S. or on the West, then yeah, that could certainly start a multi-national conflict. So with that said, I hope this provided a little insight, and I will end there. See you next time.